everyone everywhere is quitting on Donald Trump. They are saying bye-bye to an administration that is in more chaos and collapse than we have ever seen before. And what is Donald Trump's response? Well, the one that you would expect. He is melting down, he is posting away, and he is threatening lawsuits that have ultimately backfired. We are going to get into the latest group of people to quit on Donald Trump. And why? But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already, and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button, because it goes a long way and supporting our work. Now, before we get into this latest group of people to quit on Trump, we gotta start with the reason why, or one of them considering. There's so many in this administration falling apart, and that is Donald Trump's criminal cover-up of the Epstein files, with which Robert Garcia gave us the latest breaking news on. It's very important for the story, so let's check it out.
They have not responded to an act of Congress, both in the House and the Senate, to release all the files. You have the survivors being very public about the enormous amounts of mistakes, the way that they have been essentially putting information about survivors into the public. It's outrageous what is happening now. And so there is no question that this is about covering up. What the White House is covering up is really the question. Why won't Donald Trump release the full files? Our investigation team is going through these files every single day and very carefully. We know the media is doing the same thing. We will have a lot certainly to say in the weeks ahead, because right now, what we're not getting is the full files. We're not getting a full release. They're hiding and over-redacting.
Right. So do you plan to take any legal action to confront this noncompliance from the DOJ?
So I've been in conversations with Jamie Raskin, who obviously leads the Judiciary Committee, and the two of us are actively discussing what those legal actions look like. We've been in conversation about these for weeks. We expected this to actually happen. There was no scenario where Donald Trump was somehow going to release all of the files after spending most of his presidency up to now essentially saying they're a hoax or deflecting or telling Pam Bondi that this investigation was essentially over. I mean, look, he a few days ago said that this investigation essentially was over. He's now over-redacting information about himself. He is not putting information out that we know should be in the actual files. And so it's not only the legal framework that is important moving forward, it's also about holding those that are now part of this cover-up accountable. And that is going to mean hearings. It is going to be a possible contempt action against the Attorney General when Congress is back in session. That is going to be continued public pressure. And that public pressure is working. You have Donald Trump's own MAGA base that are also beginning to turn on him. So all of that's possible.
So what we have seen from the files is actually incredibly interesting, some of it quite jarring. Recently, Miami Herald reporter Julie K. Brown, she is the reporter who did most of the reporting in 2019 on the Epstein saga. She posted a document on social media today showing that it appeared in the DOJ Epstein files personal information about her and a flight that she took in 2019. In that social media post, Brown asked why the DOJ would have this information from a private citizen among these files. Have you gotten an answer from the DOJ about why this information would be included and why the DOJ might be keeping tabs on a reporter?
Well, this is really concerning. So Oversight Democrats absolutely flagged this as one of the major issues that we have seen in what's been released so far.
There is no way for Donald Trump to escape the Epstein files, no matter how hard he tries. But in every regard, and that includes in his own administration, you see Pam Bondi butting heads with Kash Patel on how to work out their PR release, I guess, is how they see it. But it's also those inside the administration worried that Donald Trump won't have their backs. Now, in the beginning of the Trump administration, obviously, the first act that the criminal president made was to pardon other criminals, really in a message to anyone willing to break the law for him saying, I will have your back. But does he? Can anyone really trust Donald Trump? So if you're getting ready to get on board with mass, fraud, criminality, obstruction of justice in the DOJ, are you banking on Donald Trump to bail you out? Are you banking on a pardon? Do you really think he's going to do that? So there's been a lot of infighting within Donald Trump's administration. But it's also come from those who do not want the stink of what is happening with Donald Trump, both privately and publicly, being on them. And that's taken its latest form at the Kennedy Center, where Donald Trump is furious with these last-minute cancellations. Kennedy Center hit with last-minute New Year's cancellations. More performers are canceling shows at the John F. Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts after Donald Trump put his name on the Washington, D.C. memorial. The Cookers, a 6-piece jazz group, will no longer perform 2 shows at the venue on New Year's Eve, joining a growing list of artists who want nothing to do with the magified setting. Jazz was born from struggle and from a relentless insistence on freedom. Freedom of thought, of expression, and of the full human voice. The Cookers wrote on their website, through no reason, for the schedule change was explicitly given. Drummer Billy Hart told the New York Times that the president's decision to involve himself in the historic Arts Center was evidently a factor. Just last week, Donald Trump, who had filled the center's board with allies and installing himself as chairman, had his name installed on the building's exterior over the objections of the several members of the Kennedy family. Meanwhile, Doug Verone and Dancers, a New York dance company, also announced Monday that it was canceling 2 performances it had planned for April. It is financially devastating, but morally exhilarating, Verone told the New York Times, adding that his company would lose $40,000. To the financial element of it, we have to be backing people who are fighting back against this administration. We should absolutely be, as we were to give Jimmy Kimmel back on the air. Canceling Disney Plus subscriptions. It's the same thing with CBS and Paramount. We should be cord cutting. We should be moving away from these magnified cable outlets and making our voices heard with our wallets. But we should also be encouraging these dance groups, these ensembles of musicians to be boycotting these events, because it drives Donald Trump crazy. We know how ratings obsessed he is. And we know how bad the ratings were for his Kennedy Center performance that he hosted, bringing embarrassment to all of us. But Donald Trump always talks about Trump derangement syndrome, like it's something wrong with us. Like arguing that the President of the United States is a criminal somehow makes me insane for some reason. I've never really tracked that logic, but it's what Donald Trump tries to present. But the real Trump derangement syndrome, the real derangement, is Donald Trump thinking that we want to freaking hear from him all the time. We do not, I can promise you that much. And the man obsessed with ratings by forcing himself upon all of us is actually destroying the ratings of the thing that he wants to brag about most. And it is driving Trump crazy, so much so that Rick Grinnell, who's one of his MAGA sick offense who runs the Kennedy Center, is now threatening lawsuits against people pulling out bat last minute. They're losing money, man. I don't know how you're going to sue them for a breach of contract for a new building, right? If it's a new Kennedy Center, if it's the Trump Kennedy Center, and they originally agreed to do their performance with the Kennedy Center, it's a different building. It's a different organization. You've changed the structure of this thing enough that you cannot complain, but complain away they will. And that is why we need people relentlessly fighting back. And one of those people is Jasmine Crocker, who is calling out how historically unpopular Donald Trump is one of the reasons why so many people are quitting on him. And this clip right here.
And tell you that we've got, a DOJ that we could expect to actually do enforcement of their own DOJ. But we are living in the age of corruption, and it is so unfortunate that not only is there a lawful subpoena that has been out there for quite some time from the Oversight Committee, but now the entire House and Senate passed a law that was signed into law, the Epstein Transparency Act, that will not expire at the end of this Congress. And we still have a defiant Attorney General who has decided that her oath is to Donald Trump and it's not to the Constitution. And so it is very difficult to imagine how we are going to get anywhere with this particular DOJ.
Congressman, can I ask you really quickly about an effort, your oversight colleagues, Congressman Ro Khanna, also Congressman Tom Massey, they were on CBS earlier today. They were asked about what they can do following this, what many are describing an illegal breach by the Department of Justice in not releasing the Epstein files. Take a listen to what they said they were willing to do next.
quickest way, and I think the most expeditious way to get justice for these victims is to bring inherent contempt against Pam Bondi.
We're building a bipartisan coalition, and it would fine Pam Bondi for every day that she's not releasing these documents.
Would you support bringing those charges against Pam Bondi?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's not a question about that. But again, we know exactly what all they went through when it came time to us even getting those signatures onto the discharge petition. I mean, for everybody that thinks that it's a mistake or thinks that the timing isn't questionable about the fact that we got out on Friday and instead of us actually being in, and it just so happens to coincide with the day that the DOJ was supposed to do their production. I mean, this is all obviously an effort that not only the speaker is involved in, we obviously have the DOJ and the White House involved in this cover-up. And so, you know, we'll see. Will Mike Johnson have his members under control to the extent that we're unable to get the numbers? But we know that this speaker is willing to shut down the House if it means protecting this corrupt president and his administration.
Congresswoman, have you been in touch with any of the Epstein survivors since these documents came out? And if so, what have you heard from them?
No, I have not. Obviously, we had the release once we were released from our duty. We were released on Thursday, and I've not been in touch with them since then, no.
Congresswoman, we had one of the survivors, Liz Stein, on earlier, and she talked about the fact that we keep hearing from people in the White House, at DOJ, that they are in touch with survivors. But she says, to her knowledge, not only has she not actually been contacted or given the opportunity to have a phone call, but that the many survivors that she's in touch with, talking to basically every single day, that they haven't had that chance to have a real conversation with the people who are supposed to be investigating this, leading the way on this. Why do you think that is?
I mean, I think we all know why it is, but I appreciate the question. You know, these are people that are more interested in covering for pedophiles than they are seeking justice for these survivors. And that's actually how we all got here. I mean, I think that, yes, it was great that he went out, he made a campaign promise. But as we know, this president is good at making promises and terrible on actually following through on those promises.
Every single day, we have to be calling these people out, humiliating them, and pushing those who are willing to get in the fight. We're going to be doing that on this show every single day. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video. If you stuck around to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. We will be out of the hotel setup soon, y'all. I will be back in DC, but only for a short jaunt, because we're going to be taking the show to New York City on New Year's Day. And I think you know why I'm excited for that. But keep on fighting, y'all. Don't let him silence you. And until next time, I'll see you soon.